my friends, we're gonna do a quick chapter from the book UFO Mystery called Rectangle of Light. Okay, so the place where this happened was in a little village in Ponteros in Spain. It was situated near the sanatorium of Pedrosa. So there was a sanatory on the south margin of the Bay of Santander. The date 6th of January 1969, the day of the Epiphany. Time 9 o'clock at night. The witnesses are 4 people and they were in a small pub. In front of the sanatorium. Names and addresses. The writer feels he's not gonna say the names nor the addresses yet. Okay? On the other side, he gives himself as the source without giving an address. Let's go back to the witnesses. There was a young girl with 25 years old girl called Philae. She was married, young mother of a small one called Paquita, a small girl. The mother, the first, Perrin, is finally a young man. He was a single young man, 35 years old. Antonio, we don't mention their surnames. At that time, Perrin was the owner of the bar and she was in the kitchen preparing the food for the clients. This kitchen has a big window with glass that you can see a big field, you know. And there's only grass growing in that field. For a quarter of an hour, Perrin saw through the window a light at which she didn't give any importance. It was already night. At that time, Philae came in the kitchen. She looked at the window and asked her mother, "What is that, Mommy?" But the mother continued her work without giving much attention to her daughter. The daughter repeated the question, "But mother, what is that? What is that man?" The mother continued working. She didn't give much attention. Checking out that her mother wasn't responding to her, she went to call the other women. Paquita, come and see a very funny thing." Paquita runs Paquita runs and she says, "Come and see a very funny thing." Paquita comes to run, plus the other children, plus Antonio that just had arrived. They observed through the window. First it was closed, but then they opened it. The scene that evolves underneath in the prairie to at about 30 meters from them and about 35 meters from the ground. On that night, they see a huge rectangle, like a room, and it was violently illuminated by an orange light. On that compartment, there is a man which is walking one side to the other. At first glance, it looks like a mannequin, but it's not moving the arms, nor is it bending down. Suddenly, behind him, another man appears that walks on the same manner. When these two get to the wall, another three appear on the opposite wall. Then the five, they all gather around in the middle, and then they kind of disappear slowly in the shade, and they disappear. At that time, the rectangular light turns off, and at the same moment falls a little buoy, brilliant buoy that falls on the ground. The color of the vehicle was gray. It becomes now visible. It elevates slowly and then it disappears quickly, emitting a light that illuminates the green wheat and the trees that limit the prairie far away. Okay, this is the image, guys. Look at that, guys. Square room, and then around there's some sort of gray metallic something, protection. A little bit afterwards, the moon comes out, and when the witnesses come out and they sit down on a little wall next to the prairie, next to the to the field, the disc had already eclipsed itself completely. On an earlier letter, Antonio Ribera gives some of his accounts. The beings that the witnesses saw had a height above average. They were bringing some jumpsuits, gray, dark gray, very slick, and they were walking like they were automatic, a little bit robot, with the arms along the side of the body. The witnesses that saw these movements on the rectangular window could not see their faces, but from what they gather, they had a human aspect. Okay, so this is the first case, guys. Now we're going to chapter 39. It's called The Incident of Sevilla. It's called Seville in Spain. On the 15th of January of 1969, At dusk, a habitant of Seville in Spain, he was coming back home in his car. He saw on the ground a luminosity that was about 200 meters. It was in front of him. He goes and sees what is going on, and he only sees an illuminated rectangle, which light it doesn't diffuse for the exterior, but it does project obliquely to the left of the observer. Afterwards, several silhouettes pass, go and come back inside the rectangle. The observer approximates a little bit, and he almost stumbles on a dog that he didn't notice that was looking at the light. And this dog was doing some little noises, like he was afraid, or he wasn't feeling very comfortable. Then, full of fear, the witness goes back to the car and goes into Seville. He tells the adventure to his neighbor, the engineer Lafitte, and a few days later, he takes him to the same exact place of the incident. There was a house about 200 meters, but they noticed that this house could not be seen on the road. Peraí, agora não ainda. They went back to the place where there was the light, and there was no circular mark or polygonal in this place, but they found 3 deep and pointy marks in the form of 2 fingers at a distance of 1.8 meters between themselves. So there was some proof that they found, guys. Commentary of René Furet. An amazing and almost repetition of the same scenario with 9 days of interval. Almost a repetition, because in Pontejos the figurants went and came back on the rectangle of light. We find ourselves near Seville, outside of the rectangle. Almost that you could say that on another episode they went from the stage to the scene. They went from the backstage to the front stage of their insolite theater. Even though in one of the lights cases it was diffuse, and on the other one it was perfectly oriented, an element is common to both observations. The rectangle of light, even though you could only see behind the rectangle a unique void space. Meanwhile, Miss Kendall, the nurse at the hospital of Duncan, had seen the compartment illuminated from the flying machine. She saw a big panel that was on board, and the witnesses of Pontejo and maybe of Seville only saw a space without knowing at the time the aspect of these people would be similar. And the color of the light of the window observed in Seville, color which is not indicated to us, was orange as the one in Pontejos. Maybe our Spanish friends can interrogate the witnesses and obtain better details on these aspects. One of the elements more surprising to this observation in Pontejos was the gradual disappearing of these entities, which kind of faded away in the shade in the middle of the compartment, very illuminated. There could be many conjecture that explain the gradual disappearing of these entities, these not moving entities. They could be three-dimensional images created by projectors of fixed light, and that they could have been progressively erased? Question mark. Is that even the rectangular, maybe it wasn't a window, but yes, a screen? Yeah. On the case of these presents being real, maybe the compartment would be uniformly invaded by a luminous smoke, which could have covered them, could have covered the witnesses, in which from the distance at about 30 meters, they couldn't distinguish the small evasion of this smoke. The phenomenon could have had some relationship to the properties of this polarized light, or with the properties of the hyperspace. With this last explanation, we would be going on the path of the parapsychologic or magical explanations from John Keel. But in our part, we try to, before going through these woos, John Keel is the woo, we have to exhaust all our arsenal of explanations that we can, technical known to man. After we are tried to think that we cannot see their light, the occupants of these machines should be capable of seeing our lights. On this point of view, we can think that seeing a light that comes out through the big pan in the kitchen of the bar, they had the risk of exposing deliberately the looks of the inhabitants. We cannot forget the attitude of the dog. He was shaky and snoring a little bit. Not snoring, growling a little bit. Having in account all the data of the second observation, the equidistant marks that were pointy on the ground, we can say that there was effectively a landing. Meanwhile, on the first one, there was only a flyby, slowly flyby at a small altitude. But even weighing all these data, we can say that the two observations that confirm mutually, and they could have been two aspects successively of one same objective. Also in Pontejos, as near Seville, the witnesses do not heard any noise. Therefore, in the case of Pontejos, there is excluded any use to a propulsion system known to us, since the object was about 5 meters from the ground and it didn't seem to have any land gear. My people, hope you enjoyed. Next one is gonna be fourth. It's gonna be fourth. Sorry. Next one is gonna be the 40th chapter, guys. We're gonna leave it for another day. Hope you enjoyed. Let's put some music to say goodbye to John P. Okay, guys? Let me see if I can find.
Cruising through the galaxy, feeling the groove. John B on a crusade, spreading love is true. Alien races collide, space wars all around. In Babylon they fight for peace on solid ground. In the universe, he keeps us alive. Tropical reggae vibes help us all to thrive. Babylon needs growth, prosperity inside. John B won't rest till it's shining bright. Journey to the stars where reggae meets the sky. Space wars won't bring us down. Together we will fly. In this Babylon, we seek a better way through the power of reggae. We'll bring peace today, today.
Thank you very much, my people. Let me see if I have one more. I don't think so. Not on this phone. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. John P loves you. John P loves you. Remember that. John P's always near his friends. John P loves his friends. Stay blessed, my people. John P loves you.